Hello, everyone. This is Sarah Middlestat, Director for Southern Plains Education Cooperative. We have been going to do some form of business manager update for some time, but it always seems like there's something that is in flux and we don't know about. So at this time, I did decide that some information had to get out to you fairly soon, and I thought I would try this strategy. This is something I've been doing with special education teachers for the last couple of years, and they've really appreciated the flexibility and the timeliness of these video updates. So I welcome your thoughts on this as well. So we will be talking about fiscal monitoring update, some changes in the bill, as well as some changes regarding ECSE more in depth and how that impacts the bill. So we will be experiencing fiscal monitoring by the Minnesota Department of Education in the 2018-19 school year. This is a 5-year rotation, and Southern Plains districts are scheduled for 18-19. At that time, they will ask to see documents related to the 2017-18 school year. So anything we do next year, we have to try to have as compliant as possible. Now I want to clarify that. I certainly always want to have us as compliant as we possibly can be. However, the Minnesota Department of Ed Fiscal Procedures Department has a lot of new staff, and it's a fairly new department. So it has been ongoing change throughout the last few years with changes of interpretations on a regular basis. So rather than cause a whole lot of changes, I figured we could just go on with what we were doing. I don't feel we have significant problems. And now we're going to just tweak everything to make sure every I is dotted and every T is crossed. I believe there's 7 areas that are monitored. The 3 that impact the member districts the most are these 3 areas. The other areas are largely addressed by Southern Plains Cooperative. So the first area is procurement procedures. The 2 things they look for are you justifying it's a special education expense, and are you following your own procedures within your district? So what they ask for is the procedures that you turn into your auditor every year to show your checks and balances. Then they ask for any documents to prove that you followed those procedures. And they are extremely particular related to those procedures. One example is that one of our districts, the last time around, had a purchase selected. They sent in the documents. The principal had signed 2 forms related to the expenditure prior to actually ordering the item. One of those was the requisition, and the other was a related document. However, the principal did not sign the purchase order until the item had been ordered. And the procedures indicated that the principal had to sign the purchase order prior to actually ordering the item. And so they cited it. Now, clearly, the principal was aware of the expenditure and approved of the expenditure, but that was not okay because the district had not followed their procedures. So one of the things you might want to do is pull some of your purchases and make sure that every one of those steps was followed very explicitly. The other item that they look for is making sure that you show that the item was a justified special education expense, which is done on this special education requisition form with the questions. And basically they either have to say yes to these questions or yes to this question. This document will be getting updated prior to next year. We will send that out to you and get you that information. We will also train the staff on those procedures, those questions, and the changes of those. But that's one of those things where the Department of Ed has really changed their interpretations and looked at those. I don't see that that will change what is covered by special education. One of the other items that impacts districts is special transportation. So what the procedures are is that when a student is determined that that child should receive special transportation, the case manager has a form that they are required to complete. Then they're required to send that form to the transportation personnel as well as MARS personnel. It goes to the transportation personnel to prove to them that the child truly needs special transportation. It was determined on the IEP, and inform the bus driver if there's anything they need to know about the child's disability. Then it also goes to the Mars personnel so that they can code the student appropriately in Mars. So that procedure has not changed. The form I don't anticipate will change. And Megan Hiller in our office does do a random audit of that once a month. Any IEPs that were written that had special transportation on the IEP, she verifies with the Mars personnel that they have received that form. And any issues that are found, we are trying to address. It is always a struggle to get those case managers to complete that form. We're trying, we're really working on that. But overall, there aren't going to be significant issues in that area. Time and effort is an area where we're going to see some substantial changes. And I'm just going to tell you right now, please don't shoot the messenger. Maybe that's why I'm doing this electronically, so you can't chase me down as easily. Time and effort requirement is that we have to be able to prove they'll select a month, say November, of 2017, and they're going to say in 2018-19, prove to me that this person who was coded to special education worked in special education on that day, every minute of the day, throughout the month of November. So I'm currently in the process of trying to find the least painful way of going about that, but what it looks like is teachers and paras will have to turn in a monthly schedule, and it needs to go to the payroll personnel so that payroll can verify that the individual was doing special education. I understand that is a pain and difficult, but I just want you to be aware that some information is coming. I will provide samples, I will provide training, both to the special education personnel as well as UN payroll personnel, but we are trying to find the least painful way of going about that. Oops. You are also going to notice some changes on the bill. Typically, the bill would have been out by now. However, due to the significant amount of changes, this took a little longer. So you will find that the PAYS Lab was added to the bill. This is a new program that we have for high school students in Winnebago. The students are transported from their home school district to the PAYS Lab. It is an amazing program. I don't want to take the time to go through it today, but ask your high school staff about it. And you're welcome to come over and visit anytime. It's really cool what's going on. Just to clarify a few items, you continue to claim those students in Mars, so you will generate general ed revenue as well as special education revenue on any of the expenses for the program. But the expenses of the program are really quite minimal. The budget for the entire program is $18,000. And that's divided based on usage of students within districts in the programs. And as I mentioned, it's really quite minimal for the amazing program. The expensive part of the program was the setup of the program, and we used federal carryover dollars to cover the costs of that. The other change in the bill is that ECSE is going to now be two separate lines. The 3 to 5-year-olds will be one line, as well as birth through age 2, and those will be separated. That is a result of some of the changes that we made in ECSE this past year. United South Central was not as impacted by this because they had always ran their own 3 to 5 program, but the others will be substantially impacted by this. What those changes are, as you're aware, the districts are now entering the 3 to 5-year-old students in Mars. As a result, that changes the way the funding flows. So we will be billing out 100% of the costs of ECSE students. However, as a result of that, it will not flow through the tuition billing program. So your tuition billing is going to go down substantially. Your state aid, both general ed and special ed, will increase quite a bit. But in the past, we got the state aid and all of this through tuition billing. And typically we received more in revenues than what our expenditures were. So we put that as a credit on the bill. So now you won't be getting that credit on the bill. The costs will go on the bill, but your aids are going to go up substantially in your district and your tuition billing will go down. The districts have started hiring their own paraprofessionals this school year, As teachers resign or retire, if the individual works full-time within a member district, the district will hire that replacement. The co-op will certainly still have additional roles within that because there are many districts that don't have a need for a full-time person, or maybe they might need 2.5 early childhood special ed teachers. So the districts can start, the district would get the additional 0.5 from Southern Plains. In the past, the school readiness programs billed Southern Plains for students that were placed in their programs. They will now bill the member district. So how that works is instead of having parents or the Pathways grant pay for the placement in school readiness, that is a special education expense. The parents cannot be billed for that. So the cost of that is then billed back to special education. So as I mentioned, the bills are going to have some substantial changes, and particularly you're going to notice they're higher. There are a number of reasons why those bills are higher. One is that the last 5 to 10 years, Southern Plains staff have really experienced some fairly moderate increases, but as a result, our staff had fallen behind member districts when it came to salaries, and as a result, we were losing staff. Staff were having to deal with tougher behaviors, and we needed to make some changes as a result of that. So there were some substantial increases. The Bridges program is another area where we have had some substantial increases. We have over doubled the number of students over the last 3 years within that program, as well as the degree of behaviors has increased substantially. So the expenses within Bridges have been high. We have also had a significant amount of turnover because of the salary issue. So none of our special education teachers that work in Winnebago, there are 10, have worked for us for more than 3 years. As a result, we've really had to beef up the number of staff, the mentoring and the support that's given to those teachers. And it is working, is the thing that's great. We have some amazing programs going on. Things are working really well. And so I've challenged them a little to say, okay, where can we start making some cuts? A paraprofessional resigned before Christmas, and at this point we have not filled that position and hope we don't need to. And we also had a teacher who went out on a long-term leave. The teacher was gone for, is planning on being gone for at least 2 months, and they realigned classrooms and picked up some bigger class sizes. So hopefully our costs will start decreasing in that area. As I mentioned, early childhood special education caused some substantial changes. One piece you need to be aware of is that the 3 to 5-year-old students, those expenses are not just included in ECSE. In the past, we coded all the speech pathologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists that were servicing students that were in 3 to 5. We coded that under an ECSE expense. Because we're not doing that through tuition billing anymore, we have those expenses now appear under speech and language or occupational therapy. So most of the line items are going to experience an increase as a result of these changes in early childhood special education. The other thing that we're doing some investigating on is the new funding formula seems to have impacted, and at this time our state aid is down quite substantially, more than as a result of ECSE. So we're continuing to do some investigating in that and see what we can find out. So if you have questions, please don't ever be afraid to ask me or ask Dawn. One of the things Dawn and I talked about is maybe if any of you want us to come and meet with you and go over the bill and just give you kind of a refresher and answer any questions, we're happy to come out and meet with you. And if you have any questions on, I don't know, I wrote for questions on billing, but especially with the ECSE, changes in coding, any of those kinds of things, you certainly can give Dawn a holler at any time. I really appreciate all that you do, and if you have any questions, information, please let me know. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.